Hi everyone, doing a video to better explain the material that I invented and manufacture, because a lot of you have asked and say, oh, is that a paint job? Is that a wrap? Is it print? Well, no, it's not. It's a composite of dichroic films like this. And one of the recent posts where many of you may have seen this guitar, then you will have seen this top material that I supplied to Jackson for making that guitar. And it's a little soft in the sun from epoxy because it's made of layers of epoxy. But as you can see, it is not a print, because what print would have this kind of 3D effect? So before I get into describing what this, how I came about this material, you have to understand where it came from. I manufacture exotic color changing glass and composites like this. Many of you in the guitar world may have seen this as inlays. It's sold through Duke of Pearl as inlay stock. It's awesome. But what I use is dichroic films. And if you see this has also a dichroic film. Look at the color shift on the white. Very dramatic. So these films change color. This is the raw film, real flimsy. So that's how I started my company. That's why it's called DichroLand. And then I developed my product line to not only do burls like this, did a 17-foot conference table for MTV out of this. Really cool projects. I explored molding, using molds to form the dichroic in glass laminating resins, and that's where I developed this shortwave effect panel used in some pretty cool clubs as restaurant partition dividers. And as you can see, it changes colors, but I also do a clear version because my method of molding it is unique. It's better than kiln form glass, etc. So then I developed molds that I loved as it had natural effect. And that's when I used the same process, but I molded this random natural pattern, which I don't know if any of you can figure out what this is. It's obviously sand dune ripples. And as you can see, it's my first experience putting a 3D effect behind a flat surface and then using metallics to bring out, you might call, chatoyants. So the metallics become the sparkling grains of sand within the dune ripple field. It's the most exact representation of sand dunes ever made synthetically. So when I was developing these, this effect, I began thinking about the chatoyants of wood, because I've been a woodworker and a furniture builder and working with all that. So here's an explanation of what that is. I built this mahogany boat, and I hand selected the veneers of ribbon stripe mahogany. You can see that 3D effect where it's light and dark. And an even better example is the doors on the back of the boat that I did out of African satin wood. You can see that 3D effect as it changes the light source. So anyway, that's chatoyants. So back to this idea of making molds and thinking about wood chatoyants and wood figure. Well, why not try a wood figure like quilted maple, one of the highest end types of wood. Many of you guitar builders know it. Ultimate figure, 1 in 10,000 trees, very rare, looks like a cobblestone street. So I decided I'll try that and laminate. At the time I knew just like the technique for the Dune pattern. I'll laminate clear acrylic and mold this clear resin onto the back in the quilt effect, and then spray it with metallics, and ended up with this guitar. So then after that, I realized, why not try finding some better chatoyant effect material for these molds, because I love the idea of the quilt molded shape. And I thought naturally carbon fiber would be perfect. So the first effect that I tried after I did a single layer of carbon fiber, and again it had to be unidirectional carbon fiber, which had the exact identical structure of wood fibers, I laminated it and thought, oh, I got to make a guitar out of this. So this is the first, well, actually my second guitar. You saw the first one. This is the first one done in carbon fiber. But as you can see, it has tremendous 3D effect because it's reflecting off of the carbon fiber. Now at the time, I molded a single layer of carbon and then I filled it with epoxy. That's why it's flat, like glass, which is a cool effect. It works. But what I discovered was layering multiple layers of carbon, very thick panels, forming it in my molds under 200 tons of pressure, and then I ended up realizing that once you machine the carbon fiber flat, it carries that same chatoyance, and as you can see, this chatoyance is off the charts. So all this development took place about 10 years ago. Made this guitar, decided I'm going to do NAMM 2018. And shout out right now to Acacia Guitars as being my first real customer of this carbon fiber material. So now getting back to the Jackson guitar, you want to find out how did the carbon fiber lead to this exotic material. Well, I had the molds made, and of course, as you saw the early part, I worked with dichroic films, and I could not resist making a pretty alien version of quilt effect by running dichroic films with epoxy and special adhesion treatment in my molds, surfacing them, revealing the contour lines, and that's where you get crazy stuff like this. So anyway, to describe what it is, again, it's not a print or a wrap. It's an extremely laborious process. About 36 layers, each of the 3 layers to 6 layers that comprise these panels take drying overnight, urethane, all the curing, sanding between coats, applying adhesion primer, and then that's all prior to pressing in the mold, so it's a lot more laborious. And to give you an idea of how it's layered, you can see in this thick buildup, which is basically metallics and epoxy, no dichroic. It's kind of what you would call intentional Fordite. You ever heard of Fordite? It's that overspray they break off of auto spray booths and then they cut it. It's got all the contours of every layer of paint. Well, this is intentional. And you can see this panel is designed for arch and dish milling. You can see the layers right in this edge here. Close up here. So basically, I take multiple layers that are pre-prepared. As a matter of fact, you can't tell in this. This has purple candy inside this 5-layer material over brushed aluminum. Doesn't look like that now, but when it's laminated together, surfaced, then you get this effect. Okay, so here's an example of a full-scale panel that I have not cut up yet that can yield 4 guitar tops. It's 25 by 45. And not only do you get the central cutout, but you can also get added pieces because these edges will book match right to each other. But check this out. This is gold borosilicate over white over brushed aluminum. Probably my favorite. Then again, that purple candy was also my favorite. And so is the Jackson dichroic. So anyway, I'm going to cut this video short. You can watch the next few minutes. I'm going to put a few other interesting details about carbon fiber, my thick material. But thanks for joining me. So here is a crazy thick version. Look at that, 7/16 thick, done out of my big flame mold. Check out the chatoyants on this. That surface is dead flat. I know it looks totally 3D. And speaking of thick material, I'm one of the suppliers to the highest end 1911 gun company in the world, Cabot Guns. And check out the chatoyants on that grip. The material that I actually send to them is this red candy version. Very difficult to make, and they make gun grips out of it. And it's sold for, you can see the layers in there, sold for over $1,000 a square foot. So don't bother contacting me unless you have some money for this stuff. Some of the stuff is wild. Like, look at this. This has got a copper layer in between the carbon fiber. Totally 3D chatoyants. Okay, thanks for watching. Be sure to share this video if you want to see my material and high-end guitars. Otherwise, I'm going to drop this money-sucking composite and move on with my other composites. So check me out on Instagram, look up DichroQuilt, find me anywhere. Thanks.